What if, one day, the gold medal in track and field didn't belong to a human, but to a machine? And what if the country behind that machine made no secret of its ambition, openly calling it the crown jewel of manufacturing? That question, which sounds like science fiction, already has an answer, right in Beijing, just days ago. Over the past weekend, a humanoid robot named Humanoid completed the 100-meter dash in 9.39 seconds, faster than Usain Bolt's world record of 9.58 seconds. Another robot cleared 2 meters 88 in the standing high jump, far surpassing the human record of 2 meters 45. This wasn't some staged video for social media. This was an official result at the second World Humanoid Robot Games, held over 5 days at the National Speed Skating Oval, the same venue built for the 2022 Winter Olympics. More than 2,000 robots from 16 countries competed across 51 events. But the real story here isn't about speed or height. It's about how a robot competition could become the centerpiece of an entire national strategy. To understand this, we need to go back exactly 1 decade. Back then, robot competitions in China were nothing flashy. They were organized by industry associations and the local government of Fujian province, on modest budgets, with participants mostly university students. The atmosphere felt more like a science fair than a major tech showcase. In 2015, at the first exhibition, mobile robots competed in badminton demonstrations, using distance image sensors and an object tracking algorithm developed by British defense researchers back in the 1990s. In other words, the underlying technology at the time was already old, just repackaged to look impressive. But that's only part of the story. The real turning point came when President Xi Jinping declared robotics the crown jewel of advanced manufacturing. From a political statement, the industry was suddenly flooded with enormous resources. By 2023, the World Robot Conference had transformed into a stage where major companies showcased products and built commercial buzz, rather than just a venue for academic demonstrations. It was also here that China's competitive edge on pricing became clear. Xiaomi's robot dog, CyberDog, launched at around $1,500, while Boston Dynamics' Spot, its American counterpart, sold for over $75,000. A price gap of 50 times for products serving similar purposes. But why should this story make us pause and think? Because behind those viral videos of robots outrunning humans lies a much bigger question: who will control the technological foundation of the coming century? Humanoid robots aren't just tech toys. They're expected to become a replacement workforce in factories, warehouses, even healthcare, at a time when China is facing rapid population aging and slowing economic growth. When a country is simultaneously short on labor and determined to remain the world's factory, humanoid robots stop being a novelty. They become an answer to a matter of survival. And this is where politics and economics begin to intertwine tightly. The Chinese government has poured more than $20 billion in subsidies into the robotics sector in just the past year. Beijing is also planning to establish a fund worth 1 trillion yuan, roughly $137 billion, to support AI and robotics startups. This isn't some impulsive investment. It's part of a calculated industrial strategy, where competitions like this one serve double duty, as a real-world data collection laboratory, and as a communication tool to assert national technological standing. However, there's one thing most people watching these robot race videos tend to overlook. These competitions aren't just about flexing technological muscle. They're also designed to address real, persistent technical weaknesses. This year, organizers introduced events that seem almost trivial: tightening screws, opening bottle caps, picking up beads with tweezers. It sounds almost comical next to robots outrunning Usain Bolt. But this is precisely the industry's hardest problem: building robotic hands with precision and tactile sensitivity close to that of humans. Speed is what grabs attention, but precise grasping ability is what determines whether a robot can leave the stage and actually step onto a production line. This pressure reflects exactly what industry observers have warned about. Humanoid prototypes need to prove they're useful beyond carefully staged demonstrations. not everything on this journey has gone smoothly. At previous editions of the games, robots have emitted smoke mid-marathon, collapsed into tangled heaps during football matches, and toppled over mid-sprint in front of thousands of spectators. These images remind us that the gap between a polished promotional video and a product that reliably operates in the real world remains substantial. But what's striking is that even these public failures are treated by organizers as valuable data, helping engineering teams improve their products for the next attempt. In other words, public failure doesn't slow the strategy down, it gets absorbed as part of the process. So who stands to benefit from this wave? First, Chinese robotics companies like Unitree, Fourier Intelligence, and Booster Robotics, which are using this national stage to build global brand recognition while attracting investment and commercial orders. The Beijing government also benefits clearly, as robots breaking human records become a powerful communication tool, reinforcing the image of a technologically advanced China at a moment when strategic competition with the West is intensifying. Global consumers, in theory, could also benefit indirectly, as China's competitive pricing forces rivals like Boston Dynamics to reconsider their own pricing strategies. But that's only one side of the picture. On the other side, Western robot manufacturers are facing unprecedented pricing pressure, confronting a product 50 times cheaper in the same market segment. And the story doesn't stop at ordinary commercial competition. The rise of China's robotics industry is unfolding alongside increasingly intense scrutiny from the United States, including an import ban from the Federal Communications Commission and the Pentagon's decision to place Unitree on a special watch list. This suggests humanoid robot technology is no longer viewed simply as a consumer product, but is increasingly being classified as dual-use technology, one that could carry national security implications. So what might happen next? There are at least three scenarios worth imagining. The first, China continues its current pace of investment, turning these games into an annual event of ever-growing scale, while accelerating the commercialization of humanoid robots into domestic factories and warehouses, before expanding into international markets. The second, geopolitical tensions escalate further, prompting Western markets to tighten restrictions even more on the import and use of Chinese robots, creating a fragmented world where two separate robotics ecosystems exist side by side, one led by China, the other controlled by the United States and its allies. The third, and perhaps the most realistic scenario, is a blend of both. Technological competition remains fierce, but global trade continues in certain segments, particularly in developing countries seeking low-cost automation solutions. One thing is certain, however precisely a robotic hand can grasp a tiny bead with tweezers, that same precision reflects the remaining distance between what's demonstrated on stage and what can actually function reliably in a real factory, a real warehouse, a real hospital room. The question is no longer whether robots can outrun humans. We already have that answer. The real question is, as the line between technological showmanship and practical application keeps blurring, who will have the power to shape the rules of the game for an era when machines begin competing directly with humans, not just on the racetrack, but at our own workbenches? If you found this perspective interesting, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for following this story. If you found it interesting, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and share it. For now, this is goodbye. Thank you for staying with Societale Stories.